Now we have a special show. Now some of y'all ain't gonna be ready for this. We have a series that's gonna be coming out starting this Friday. And this particular series is on the Young Thug case. Yep, you heard it right. I know some of y'all listen like Young Thug, like what, lost their damn mind up here. But it's on the Young Thug case, and a comrade, a mutual comrade of Daruba, and I have been pushing for us to meet with some of the folks from that team because she's compared this case to having similarities to the Panther 21 case. I know that we're going to be inviting Daruba on possibly next week. But as we close, Daruba, I want, with that comparison, because there's some folks, when I say Young Thug, you know what I mean? They're probably looking like they're not lost their damn mind. I want to know your thoughts on that because we both had the spill and we've both been threatened.
Yes, Sister Love,
Shout out
our
to
sister,
Marva.
Mama Marva, she,
Yeah.
she browbeat me for a year with this, man,
Yeah.
and I realized that, that the sister had, she because she had lived through the 21 case, and because her departed her husband, was one of the 21. She was really acutely aware of how the prosecution in the state was prosecuting this young man, this brother called Young Thug, and the similarities between this prosecution and how the state prosecuted the Panther 21 in the Chicago conspiracy trial against Bobby Seale and the Chicago 7. They came from their old playbook, again, with conspiracy cases, with criminalizing the grand jury process, with coercing witnesses, and all of these things. And I think that what won me over from the sister's argument was that this is widespread. This is a national policy that came into existence after the murder of George Jackson in the prison movement in 1971, is when the so-called profiling of gangs, the criminalization of Black lower class social relationships of our youth, became a target of law enforcement, much the way that the Black Panther Party was targeted by COINTELPRO, because a lot of our recruits came from the so-called lumpen proletariat, the so-called unemployed class, the brothers from the streets. We thought and we believed, and I still believe to some degree now, that it's that class, it's that group that have a propensity or inclination to be more readily politicized and involved in the struggle on the streets, to become cadres and soldiers in the Black liberation movement. And because they already have a relationship to law enforcement, which is antagonistic. They already have an understanding that that white supremacy is manifested through the barrel of a gun, you see. And so, but they don't have the politics or the understanding of their radical history to understand how they are at a historical moment in time. While they're chasing the dollar, these crackers is chasing their ass. You see, and they believe that the dollar or that getting a contract is the way out of the hood. But at the same time, they have all of these beefs that they have with each other while they were growing up, territorial beefs. It's a ridiculous construct when you think about it, because they tried to do the same thing with Fred Hampton and the Keystone Rangers in Chicago. And Fred Hampton nixed that when he met with the head of the Keystone Rangers. And we have counterintelligence documents that show that the federal government, that the FBI, was trying to encourage Jeff Fort and the Keystone Rangers to look at the Black Panther Party as a threat in the streets. And Fred Hampton, I think some of that episode was presented in the Hollywood version of Fred's assassination. What was the name of it?
Lieutenant Black Messiah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Yeah, I think some of that episode was presented when Fred met with the leader of the Peace Stone Rangers, and they saw that the Black Panther Party was not a threat. In fact, the Black Panther Party was trying to get them to raise their consciousness and become an asset to the Black community rather than a deficit. And we know that historically, the Peace Stone Rangers subsequently evolved into a black organization that did just exactly that. And Fred Jeff Fort and them were put in prison for collaborating with Muammar Gaddafi and all of this stuff when they became a quote Islamic sect. So we need to. I think that what the sister was pointing out about how the prosecution and the judge have collaborated behind closed doors in order to convict this young man. Uh, and based on his image, based on his influence in the community amongst young people, and how the prosecution is bringing this was also corrupted itself with or use the Crime and Control Act, what they call it,
the crime. You talking about the '94 crime bill?
Yeah, but they have a name for it that was usually originally used against the mafia.
The RICO charges. The RICO charges.
Yeah, the RICO charges, and
right.
and the RICO Act has been modified and used against Black street groups, street organizations, who are involved in illegitimate capitalist behavior, slinging drugs, and all of this stuff. This is all illegitimate capitalism that plays into how the government has focused on poor Black communities to destabilize them, to remove their capacity for coherency and political organization through drugs and criminalization of Black youth groups and organizations, street sets. So I think that that what Kalanji was saying, coming forward with an analysis and perhaps following this trial would be an educational process for an entire generation of young people who are now heavily into hip hop and rap music and not understanding how it's been used and employed in order to demilitarize and demilitarize